made up in our own minds that this was known to us up here, beginning of April, this short sale in oil? We kind of already knew about it, didn't we? We talked about it in length. We talked about this trade. This trade at $87.50 at the beginning of April. And then the sell that came in on the spike, and then the sell that came in up here as well at $84. So we've kind of known about all of this stuff. We've known about it, but the question I've got is, how many maximized the gain from this big piece of information here? How many people monetized that knowledge? Because if you don't monetize your knowledge, you're effectively just giving away all those edges, all that information for nothing. Because you can monetize these things. These are all positive alpha experiences. Every single time we put a line on our charts that has a reason to be there, it is a alpha experience. And if this is a positive alpha experience, you've got to make money from them, because you're not going to get anything better in the world of trading than these types of experiences. Make the money. Don't talk about them. Don't think about them. Analyze them by all means, but then you've got to get into the execution. You've got to say, right, I've got to make the money from this. I've got to find a way of monetizing that knowledge, that alpha. Alpha on its own is meaningless unless you turn it into hard cash. Pointless. Waste of time and energy. So when you see this massive edge developing on this, you got to put in a graft. You've got to put in a hard shift on this type of stuff, guys. It's not going to be given to you. You're going to be asked to put some money at risk to try and take advantage of the alpha available. But if you're good at what you're doing, this was an absolute piece of cake. And then we just do it on a smaller and a smaller and a smaller time frame. We just keep doing it on smaller time frames to make sure it makes sense to us. Still the same story on the NASDAQ, by the way, guys. The NASDAQ hedgers are bearish, but the S&P hedgers are kind of bullish. So I'm still not getting a confluence on this. It still means that NASDAQ at top lines are kind of still sellable. But they're not brilliant by any means. As I said, the S&P doesn't agree with the NASDAQ just now in terms of what their hedgers are doing. But the NASDAQ hedgers have actually had the better of the drop there, haven't they? They've managed to make some nice money on the drop phase. But you've got to get this stuff right, guys. This is not difficult for oil traders to see. And Reeve was talking about the oil this morning about, does everybody remember that we also have something else called the banker bets? And we've had a chance to look at the banker bets today. We've had a chance to talk about the very, very high probability trade that we've seen. And we only saw one trade in that experience. And that's okay. One trade is one trade. It's still a possible big winning trade. It came in at 79.30. It traded a low price of 78.80. And we made money on it. We absolutely made money on it. I'm just booking some profits on my NASDAQ. Thank you very much. I did tell you I was selling top lines, so I'm just booking some of my monies. Okay. Let's do a Ninja Trader as well. See if we can get in a trade before we get the bounce takes place. Okay, done. Screenshot. Let's show you what we got in terms of the seller on that NASDAQ so that we can show you what we're doing. Okay, so that was the trade I took on the NASDAQ. Can we all agree that it's a top edge? We can, I think, agree that there's a top edge in there. There's a little edge for sure. So what am I thinking? Well, there's a problem here, isn't there? Almost immediately you can see what the problem is. You can see that there's a real money problem on this trade. What is it? There's a lot of sellers in this trade, right? There's a real money problem. There's a lot of sellers that are looking at this as a big short. So I've got to make sure I get that high price. As it transpires, it's just broken nicely to the downside. So let me just re-update the tweet, the post. So you can see just how good that trade turned out to be. 5 contracts, $2,000, guys, 5 lots. Pretty good. Pretty good. Okay, so there's the edge. With the selling that's coming in here, we've got to get above that price. I can't go below that price. I've got to get above that price, right? I've got to be selling into that edge higher. So if I'm going to sell into that edge higher, then that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be looking for a way into this. So I'm watching for some sort of imbalance of some sort to come in to tell me that there's selling coming into this. Well, there's the imbalance there. As soon as I saw that sell side imbalance, I thought, you know what? I'm going to have to take my shot now. I'm going to have to take my shot and see how it gets on. We've rejected the high price. We've got a sell side imbalance. I'm going to have to jump. And I did jump, and we did over $3,000 eventually in that trade because we hit down into the bottom edge there. $3,000. 5 contracts. It took me 3 minutes to make $3,000, guys, on 5 contracts in Ninja Trader. I can see that impresses everybody. So we move on to another trade. I'll maybe have to put an Elliott wave on one to get somebody interested in it. Let's think if I can put an Elliott on something.